Here's a close-up of the Challenge Titan 200M paper cutter, and we're getting ready to cut this scrap 8.5 by 11 paper into 4 smaller stacks. So the 11-inch is going to be 5.5, and the 8.5 side is going to be 4 1/4. I'm going to start with the 5.5 measurement. Now again, the paper cutter is off. There's no LED display, that means it's off. Double check to make sure that this toggle switch is pushed over into the run side. Turn the paper cutter on. The LED lights should display. You see that it's at 22.22 measurement, which is completely incorrect of what the measurement is. And the measurement is from about the center of that white nylon piece to the backstop, which is roughly a little over 2 inches. So it's incorrect. So here's how we're going to calibrate it. We are going to push back the backstop a bit and then bring it forward, and it will hit a spot on there about 4 inches where it then becomes calibrated. I believe there's like an electronic eye in there, and as soon as the backstop reaches that point, it knows exactly where 4 inches is, and then it resets the LED display. So to be able to do that so you can see the display, I'm putting the door down, making sure this is available, the thumb screw is loose so I can turn this. I'm going to first back it up a bit more so the number would be going higher. When the number is going higher, the backstop is pushing back. Then we're going to bring it forward, and you see that it jumped to about 4 real quick. So now we are calibrated. That backstop all the way to the front is about a 1/2 inch cut. It's not a realistic cut, of course, but we're going to now move it back to 5.5 inches. .5. Tighten the thumb screw underneath so that this is secure. We can now put the paper in. Make sure you push this all the way up to the top before you release it. It does fall down if it's not all the way up. Gently get your paper positioned, and then use the jogger. Tap it in position. Remember, don't leave the jogger in here. When you make that door, when you make the cut, bring the door down. Don't leave the jogger in there. It will cut through it and it will dull the blade. Don't leave anything else in there either, like metal rulers, pencils, pens, nothing but the paper. Bring it down, make sure you're holding it the whole way down because it does drop. So don't want it to drop on fingers. And then we're getting ready to make the cut. You can see a little bit of a light that's giving, it's not precise, a general area where the cut's going to go through. It designates where the cut is coming from. And then the clamp is going to come down first, then the blade. And then as soon as the cut is made, release the buttons. Because if you don't, it's just going to keep, you'll hear the motor still running and the blade staying at the bottom. It's not doing anything. So as soon as the cut is made, release the buttons, and then the blade and clamp raise up. Now, open the door. Remember, push it all the way back. And then if you're more comfortable, loosen the thumb screw. To get that back paper out, you can bring the backstop forward. That was clockwise motion to bring forward. And now we have 2 stacks of paper now I put together on a smaller size. And the next cut is 4 1/4 inches, this direction. So I'm going to put this down. Remember, hold it because it does fall. And we are going to position the backstop to 4 1/4. Hope my math is right. When in doubt, double check, triple check. Don't want to ruin your portfolio, I have to reprint it. Tighten the thumb screw. Push all the way back before you release it. Paper in. Jog it. Get it all nice and smooth on the edges so you get a nice even cut everywhere. Bring the door down, holding it the whole way and pressing the brakes. Lift up the door, untighten the thumb screw, push out all the paper, and now we've got a stack of paper cut to notepad size. Now if you notice, I don't know if you can see on the camera, again, there is the clamp marks in the paper. Now this is copier kind of paper, so it kind of shows all the way through. It's okay, it's scrap paper. It's just, you can feel the indentations on the top. And if you don't want that on your portfolio project, remember to take a small stack of the scrap paper to put on top of your project to protect it from the clamp. Also, check the cuts. Are the cuts nice and clean and sharp? If they're not, you might want to go in and lift out this plastic or nylon nylon piece and rotate it either this way or this way, rotate it this way. It just gives a nice clean cut to the paper until the blade gets dull. If changing this position doesn't help, then it may need we need to replace the blade. We have a backup blade. Just let your instructor or me know, and we can get that taken care of. But a lot of times just shifting this just kind of gets that cut nice and sharp again. You don't want ragged edges on the cut. And also remember to, if your documents or your pages are, your media is positioned this way, you want to just kind of push on that nylon strip so it goes as far that direction as it can, so that that cut is good all the way to the very edge of the paper. Alternatively, if you line up your paper on this side, you might want to then push the nylon strip that direction. Every time a cut is made, it kind of pushes that strip a little bit, and it leaves a little bit of a gap, and then the blade doesn't cut so well on the very inside of the paper. So that's just a little tip. And I think that's it. We're going to close up the door and turn it off. You don't have to turn it off. There's nothing that's going to hurt the machine leaving it on. If you know the whole class is going to be using it, don't need to turn it off. When you come in, if the machine is off, then you know you need to calibrate it. If you come in and it's on, you can probably assume it's already been calibrated, but it may not. So it's always good to do a quick measurement, compare it to your LED display, like put in the ruler towards the backstop and measure roughly where the white strip is, that's where the cut would be made, and compare it to what the measurement shows here. If it's way off, it's not been calibrated. You can also use a few scrap pieces of paper and cut them to see how they measure and make sure that things are calibrated okay. Also, just to point out again, there is a little chart to show decimal equivalents, because the LED display measures in decimal inches with decimal marks. So 5.5 inches is 5.5, 4 1/4 inches, 4.24. So if you don't know the measurement that you need, what the actual last 2 digits should be, this chart can be real helpful. And otherwise, you can use your phone, your calculator, and let's say you need 4 1/8, then just go to the calculator and put in 1 divided by 8. And that then tells you what the decimal equivalent is, if I recall right off my head, 0.125. So, not all of the measurements show here. Oh, that reminds me. I see this 1/8 here. Shows a decimal 0.13. That's a good point to bring up, because I just mentioned 1/8 is actually 0.125. Well, the LED display only has 2 digits to the right of the decimal point. So you have to round up or round down. So just do the best that you can and then measure it with your ruler, make sure it's okay. But it should work fine following this, the 1.13 as your decimals. All right, I think we're done actually this time.